Hey folks, it's Dave with Alaskan Homesteading again. I've got some more work to do on my tractor. I managed to find a fuel filter element that I think is going to work. We'll see. I've got to get the other one out of the system first, and so I've got to do, drain this fuel bowl and all this other stuff to try and get at it. And hopefully I can do this without making too much of a mess. I really don't like getting diesel fuel all over the place. It stinks and it's hard to clean up. So come along with me and I'll show you what I'm working on. Well, here is the fuel filter housing. It's a Mann-Hummel pre-line, and they make a bunch of industrial and agricultural and trucking, diesel fuel filters. This one happens to be a combined fuel and water separator and filter. So there's a paper element tucked up inside the metal body here, and then in the bottom you can see this bowl gives you some visibility to the fuel. You can see the color consistency, and if there was a bunch of water in the bottom, you can see a little puddle in there. And on the bottom of the housing there is a little nozzle, which I have already put a hose on. I'll pull that off so you can see what I'm talking about. So there's this little fitting on here, and this thing unscrews and it allows you to drain out any water that would be in the bottom of the bowl. So what I've done is grab a little thing of 1/4 inch inside diameter rubber fuel hose and hook that up and run it down into one of the containers of, the leftover containers from the oil change, so I can capture that diesel fuel and at least not spill it everywhere. Because this would just be a mess. There's wiring and the frame and everything, and there's just no way that would stay neat if I didn't open that carefully. So let's see how this goes. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work, but I think what I want to do is drain all the fuel out of that assembly, and then I should be able to take a strap wrench and put it around this, unscrew it, and then pull that element out. Inevitably there's going to be some diesel fuel spill that's going to drip out of that filter element. That's going to be wet, but we'll try and minimize it as much as we can, and I'll see how it goes. So this just turns, and you have to rotate the hose a little bit, otherwise it'll twist down there. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but ultimately what happens is this little cap on the bottom that I'm rotating is just a cup. And so the fuel will come out through the threads, collect in this little cup, and then pour through this little fitting on the bottom, down the hose and out into my jug. And let's see how far can I open this to get some fuel flow without making a mess. That's the question. Because I think at some point I'll get to where that whole cap just comes off and we get fuel just pouring out the bottom, which I do not want. And let's see. Are we getting fuel flow out of the hose? The answer is yes. We are getting some fuel flow out of the hose. Not a lot, but you can hear it down here dripping out. And it might be kind of airlocking in the hose because it's only 1/4 inch inside diameter. And up here we're still in good shape. Looks like we haven't had any dripping around the bottom of the housing. So I'm just going to let this drain for a while and see if I can empty that filter housing. I decided to make a time lapse of the fuel draining out of the bowl because this is pretty boring. Well, I got the fuel drained out of this thing, and managed to do it without spilling it all over the place. This little hose setup worked really, really well. So I'm going to close that off now on the bottom. Twist that shut. Take my little drain hose off. And now I'm going to see if that strap wrench I've got will do the job for taking off the bowl from the bottom of this housing. It's always fun playing the lefty-loosey, lefty-tighty game underneath things that are, you know, upside down. It's like, wait a second, which way is off? Oh yeah, gotta turn it upside down in my brain to figure that out. But yeah, so yeah, now we're getting a few little drips because there's, you know, just a little residual bit of fuel sitting in the bottom of this that's, you know, dripping out of the bottom of that little fitting. That's what the rag is for. All right, this is a tight space, so I gotta twist it that way. But this has to go that direction. Excuse my lighting adjustment. I have to make space for my strap wrench now. The trick that I had to figure out to get the fuel flowing was to take out this bleeder screw off the top of the housing to allow air in. That let the fuel flow out a lot faster, because I was messing with it for a good half hour and getting just a little trickle, and I thought, well, there's got to be a way. So I found a way. Everybody can feel free to laugh at my Walmart strap wrench here. Hyper tough. You know, it's just a strap wrench. It's not that complicated. You know. There we go. We got it free a little bit. Ooh, that is going to be not so much fun taking that off, but hopefully I can get that loosened up enough. I can do it by hand the rest of the way. Yeah. After all this, I really hope that filter element that I bought fits in here. If not, I have to go through this all over again. Is it me, or is that just not moving? You know, it's turning, but it just doesn't feel like it's coming loose. Makes me wonder if I'm doing something wrong. That is definitely rotating. It doesn't look like it's moved downward at all, which I would think it ought to be separating from the housing by now, unless that's a really fine thread. Which on a plastic housing, I wouldn't think it would be a very fine thread. But who knows? Oh yeah, okay. Starting to see a little separation there. Boy, this is tight. It's tight, but at least there's not a lot of space to work. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if I should be looking into unbolting this whole assembly from the bracket it's on, but then I won't be able to get any purchase on it. You know, if I loosen it up and bring it down out of here, I'll still be hung up with these fuel hoses, and then I won't have a fixed mounting position, so I think I'm not going to do that. Let's get my light mounted again and get back to turning this a 1/16 of a turn at a time with the strap wrench, with my Hyper Tough Walmart brand strap wrench. I'll tell you what, there's probably a better strap wrench out there, but this one's actually relatively small, which I like. There's a lot of much bigger ones that would be totally unusable in this space. That's still pretty hard to turn, even with the leverage of the strap wrench. I don't know if I'll be able to do that by hand. Let's see. Get this out of the way. See if we've loosened it up enough. No. No, we haven't. Yeah, okay. We're just going to keep going. This is slow, but it's gotta get done. I would definitely love to hear from people in the comments if anybody's found a better way to do this, because I am struggling with this. It is very frustrating not to be able to get a better grip on this. I mean, maybe I need one of those. I don't even know if they make one deep enough. You know, they have filter wrenches that go like over the end of a filter that grip on those little flats, but you know, they're pretty shallow mostly for doing just the top end of an oil filter. So I don't know. If that would be something I could find for this. You know, or I wonder, is this just a symptom that there's something screwed up with this and I need to be looking at maybe upgrading this filter system. Van Hummel makes a bunch of later versions of this that just use a spin-on cartridge, and they even have spin-on cartridges with the little water drain at the bottom, so I could still get the functionality of the fuel water separation. I just didn't have the visual inspection of the fuel because the spin-on cartridges are opaque. Alright, this is starting to get a little easier to turn now. But it's still difficult enough. I don't think I'll do it with just my hand. Oh, there we go. That's probably it right there. I think that was the last hard turn. Alright, let's get this out of here. Of course, you know, worst case, again, if the filter element I bought from Napa doesn't fit, I can return it. And I think I'll just give my local Branson dealer a call and ask them to order the correct part, because they'll surely be able to get it. Oh, glory be. And then, okay, yeah, element comes out. Oh yeah, that element I got is definitely wrong. I can tell already just looking at this, the size of it. So, that's pretty filthy. You can see, you know, the nice sort of clean sections of the element, and then there's a lot of dirt in there. I'm not even going to run this again until I get another element. I'm not putting this back in there. There's no point. That is just a mess. But at least I got sort of the hard part of this done. Yeah, see, it's got this PU8019 element number, made in Korea, 171010. I'll have to try looking up that number too. But that PU8019, I couldn't find anywhere online. I couldn't find it on Man Hummel's website. I couldn't find it in any cross-reference I looked at. I kept getting references to WK8019, which is a Wix spin-on cartridge for an assembly similar to this, but it's not an internal paper element cartridge, so it's the wrong thing. And you can see there's all kinds of crud in the bottom of this fuel bowl. Definitely was time to get this serviced. So if anybody at a Napa tries to tell you this 3719 fuel water separator is the right thing, I can tell you with confidence it isn't. It is just substantially larger than the original equipment. So yeah, we won't be finishing this job tonight, but I will be looking up that other number, 171010. Maybe that'll take me on a slightly less wild goose chase. I decided to give this a nice little cleaning over here at the sink. It's much nicer now. There was some gnarly gunk in there. I'm thinking this filter hasn't been changed in some time. So the interesting thing that I just learned, because I've never had one of these before. I understand the concept of a fuel water separator and the ability to drain the water out of the bottom because it's under the fuel, because the fuel floats on top of the water. But the thing I didn't know about was this nifty little red ring in here and what it does. And so I'll just show you. It's kind of a neat little trick. That red ring floats on the water just like the diesel fuel does. And so when you look at the bowl from the side, you'll be able to see if there's water in there, that little red ring will be floating on top of it. and then above that will be your diesel fuel. Because it's not always easy to tell the difference between the water and the diesel fuel visually. So, especially through this sort of colored plastic housing. So that red ring gives you a clear indication if it's floating, there's water. And it's time to drain it off. And so you just twist that little fitting on the bottom, the water drains out, and you go on about your business. Pretty cool. All right, well, for now, since I don't have the element, and I'm not going to get it anytime soon, I'm going to go ahead and just close this up so that we're not getting any contamination in there. Just want to keep that sealed up. And then when we come back to it, we should have a much easier time. I'm just going to hand tighten that. That's all we need, just to keep the dust out of there while it's sitting. And the other thing I wanted to discover is if I was getting a siphon effect. I pinched off the fuel inlet line while I was doing this, so I wasn't sure if the fuel was coming over from the tank and filling this back up again as I was draining it or what. It looks like we're actually okay. It's not letting any fuel in, so good. All right, well, we didn't quite get done what we set out to accomplish today, but I at least know more than I knew an hour ago, and now I can have the filter in my hands to do some measurements and see if I can find a cross-reference there based on the specifications. I am really set on trying to find an element that I don't have to go to the Branson dealer for, so we're going to try and figure that out. So stay tuned for more on that. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying these kind of tractor videos, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more of my content, subscribe, and we will see you in the next video.